Hey everyone, it's Leanne here. Welcome to another video at my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how I created my circle shaker card using the Loveable Legends stamp set from Lawn Fawn. So to begin, I cut an A2 card, like a typical A2 card, and I looked for a circle die that would be big enough to cover the entire area to cut my circle out of, but still leave a little overhang at the top where the card could fold and stay together. Once I had those, I set up my other templates. And these papers here I got from Michael's. They're just open Recollections sheets that you can buy in individual sheets on the shelf. So I set up a template to do a background for the shaker window, and then another template to do a border over top of the shaker window. So I'm just double checking my pages here to make sure that the sizes that I chose are correct and everything came out really good. And one thing to mention is that the dark blue border does match the exact size as the original card that I cut, so they will be flush on the edges. Now I took an Avery sheet protector and I used my circle template that I used for the background, the die cut of that size, and I put it over my Avery sheet and I ran this through my die cutting machine once. Now this didn't cut the plastic, but it scored it, and it was enough to use as a guide, and I took my X-Acto knife and just gently trimmed that out, and because the score lines were already there, it was pretty easy to pop out from the plastic. So I found this method worked pretty well. I did a lot of testing with this actually, and this was the best method. So now I'm coloring my little Kraken, and I've sped up the video here so you guys can see all the coloring and the colors that I use and the shading that I do for this. I love this little Kraken. So I had actually got this stamp set a few months before, and I had stamped all the stamps and I colored the Kraken, and at the time I hadn't used him, but I had colored a red one and I just loved him, and I thought, you know, I really need to do a card with him. He has such a bright, vivid color, and I just thought he was so cute. So then this card kind of came to me, this card idea, so I thought that this was the perfect place to use him in. So I'm just coloring all of him up and getting all the shadows in place. There's not a lot of colors to do or that are needed to create the Kraken, but it's pretty cute. It turns out really cute. The only tricky part of coloring the Kraken is actually at the top of the head. So I wanted to add a little bit of detail to his skin. So here I'm just adding in some cheek colors. And then I'm using that same color to add the detail to the skin that I mentioned. So I put some dots at the top, but I found they weren't dark enough. So I took a Recollections marker, it doesn't have any information on it, but it is Recollections brand, and added some more dots. And then I came in with my white Jelly Roll pen and enhanced those dots a little bit more. So adding dots to his head and making sure that the dots are closer together near the top of his head so it looks like it's farther away from the picture, just to help with the dimension a little bit. So now for the outline of my card, the border, I wanted to sort of make this look like a porthole, just to keep the nautical theme going. So I found my circle template, and I use a Staedtler dark blue marker, and I'm just drawing little circles that would probably act as the rivet holes or the bolt holes for the bolts, I guess, for the porthole. So I did the first set at north, south, east, west, and I just eyeballed that. I didn't measure it. And then I did a dot for every spot in between. So the circle template was super handy for that. And then I used my tape roller, and I added the tape to the porthole, the back cover, and then I laid my shaker card window there to get that ready. So I've got that all stuck down. And now it's time to create the shaker card. So I'm using 3M foam tape, and I've doubled that up. So I want to have extra height with this foam tape so that when I put my little shaker elements inside the window, the foam lifts the window up off the cardstock enough that they can flow around freely in the window. And then I just cut that in half because it's easier to work with. If it's skinnier, I can mold it around the edge of the circle. And it saves on tape as well. You don't really need a lot to create the shaker card window. So I thought that this worked out really well. So I've just got all the tape off, and I'm going to set that aside while I work on the rest of the card. So now I'm going to begin building the base of the card. And I'm building this right on top of my original A2 card that I cut into the circle. So I'm putting the background on first, and I've used my tape roller for that as well, so it sits nice and flush. And then I have these glass beads that I picked up at the dollar store, and I have a mixture of shaker items from Recollections as well that are from Michael's. And so I'm going to use the blue colored ones just to keep the theme very more monochromatic, I guess, and tying that blue in together. So I've added my shaker elements, and I'm just overlaying the porthole, the frame, making sure that that all fits in good, and pressing that down into place. So there is the base of my shaker card, and I'm pretty excited at this point. This is only my second shaker card, and I'm really excited with how it's turning out here so far. So now I'm going to stamp my sentiment, and I want to stamp the sentiment What's Kraken from the Loveable Legends set, and I want to have my Kraken sit in between the sentiment. So I put tape over the end of the sentiment so I could ink the first part first, stamp that down, measure with my Kraken, and then stamp the second part of the sentiment. So I have lots of room set aside for my Kraken to sit nicely over my sentiment banner. So I'm just trimming that out with my X-Acto knife and my ruler. And then I'm going to lay this on a navy cardstock. This is just to give it a little more oomph and kind of create a higher visual level with the sentiment, because that is more of the focal point of the card. Whereas if I left it just on white paper, it would really sit in the background and not stand up visually so much. So this dark border really helps to bring that to life. Now I wanted to do a notched edge, so I measured the middle of each end, and then I measured up about 1/4 of an inch and created a center point, and then I just cut lines out from there to the edge to the corners, and that created my little flag sort of look. So the little notch is at the end. So now that I have that ready, I'm just going to, actually here what I did is with the darker blue border, I felt that the Staedtler marker that I used was more of a bright blue. It wasn't a rich dark blue, and it didn't match the background of the sentiment too much. So I went in with the Recollections marker, which inked in a darker navy blue, and I just went over those circles to touch them up a bit and make them a bit darker. And this helps tie the sentiment border together as well. Kind of pulls it all together. So it's all pulled together visually. So I'm just putting that together, and then I'm getting ready to add my Kraken. Now to add him, I want to give him a little extra height too, because he is my main focal point item. So I've put foam tape on him as well, and just the back is never the elegant part, so you're just trying to fill as many cracks and crevices as you can without having the foam tape stick through the other side. So I've got that all set, and then I've added him down to the card in the middle of the sentiment, so he hangs over the sentiment but also into the shaker area. And that's it. There you have it. That is my circle shaker card featuring the Loveable Legends stamp set using the Kraken, and that's from Lawn Fawn. I had a lot of fun making this card, and I'm so happy with the way it turned out. I really love the colors, and just the shape overall, I just love the circle. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe so you're notified the next time I post a video. Thanks so much for watching.